Welcome to Grima, where stories are not just told, they're uncovered. This is where forgotten memories resurface, shadows whisper behind closed doors, and the things you buried deep find their way back. Make sure you're somewhere safe. Turn off the lights. Put on your headphones. And let us take you on a journey. Have you ever looked into a mirror and wondered, if I'm not me, then who am I? That was the question Andy asked himself when he accidentally encountered the red mirror, the eerie object no one dared approach. But once you step through that door, can you ever turn back? Sometimes, curiosity is just an excuse for the terrifying things that lurk, like ghosts in the mirror, waiting for a chance to step out and claim you. A friend had warned him, never open the mirror door, or you'll never see the light again. But Andy didn't listen. And now, he must pay the price. This time, fear doesn't only come from the darkness he sees, it comes from what the mirror reflects, things that cannot be explained. The red mirror is not just a decorative item, it is a doorway to a world no one wants to enter. And Andy, he has opened that door. Do you have the courage to uncover the truth behind this red mirror? This story will make you reconsider whether you'd ever want to look into your own reflection again. A warning from the lost faces. I can't forget that look. The gaze of those who have left this world, lingering in my mind like ghosts that cannot be banished. It all began one dark night, when I overheard a story about a mysterious ritual, known as the Red Mirror Ritual. It was like a never-ending nightmare, consuming my thoughts, forcing me to seek the truth about it. Be careful not to look into the mirror when it bleeds. Those were the words I heard from a stranger in a dimly lit room, where only the faint glow of an oil lamp illuminated the space. At first, the phrase seemed meaningless, but it held an eerie power, as if it came from another world, where death and life intertwine. At first, I thought it was just a rumor, a spooky tale passed around by the locals. But as I began to dig deeper into this ritual, I realized that I was facing something far beyond imagination. The red mirror wasn't just an object, it was a portal to dark secrets that mankind was never meant to know. There were those who had participated in this ritual and vanished, leaving only strange traces behind. Bloody streaks on the mirror, whispers in the dark, faces twisted with hate staring at me every night. I began to lose sleep, feeling watched, as if someone was always behind me, observing me through every reflected face in the glass. I couldn't stop thinking about that warning. And then, one night, I couldn't resist any longer. I found an old mirror, one that, according to the rumors, had once belonged to someone who had performed the Red Mirror Ritual. This mirror, an old man told me, was where the souls of the departed returned. It didn't just reflect images, it reflected the deepest fears of humanity. I stood before that mirror, my hands cold, my heart racing. The stories about the red mirror, about souls trapped within, echoed in my head. I couldn't stop myself, even though I felt danger closing in. Don't look into the mirror when it bleeds. I didn't know why, but I followed the warning. I gazed into the mirror, and something strange began to happen. Blood, from an unknown source, started seeping from the edges of the mirror, flowing down like streams of red. At that moment, a cold chill ran through me, and then, a cold hand tapped my shoulder. I turned around, but no one was there. The Mask of Truth. In the following nights, I couldn't tear my eyes away from the mirror. Blood continued to drip from the edges, though I couldn't understand why. Every time I looked into it, the reflection not only showed me, but also ghosts, faces wrinkled and faint, like souls trapped in an invisible space. Their eyes, drenched in blood, glinted with terror. I felt their pain, their anger, piercing through the cold glass, making my heart race and my throat dry. I didn't know if I was being haunted or if something real existed in that mirror. But one thing I knew for sure was that those faces weren't just illusions. They came from somewhere, from a world I couldn't explain. And every time I stared into the mirror, I felt myself being drawn into a void, a place from which I could never escape. I decided to follow the advice of an old friend, someone who had researched the Red Mirror Ritual before me. He told me that if I wanted to truly understand it, I had to go to the place where the ritual had first been performed, a remote village where those who took part in the ritual had mysteriously disappeared. On a stormy night, I drove to that village. The atmosphere was grim, heavy. The old, decaying houses and empty streets were void of life. The cold air rose from the earth, seeping into my bones. This village seemed abandoned, forgotten by time, with no lights or signs of life. But I had no other choice. I had to continue my search for the truth. When I reached the house my friend had mentioned, I felt an odd sensation. The old wooden door slammed against my hand when I pushed it open. A gust of cold air rushed in, as if the house was breathing, waiting for me. In the darkness, I noticed a small table with strange items scattered around, black stones, a scorched old book, and a red mirror. This mirror was, without a doubt, the object I had been searching for. I approached it, and as soon as my hand touched the edge, an overwhelming chill swept over me, making me shudder. I didn't know what would happen next, but I couldn't stop now. I was too deep in this game. Suddenly, I heard a noise. A footstep echoed through the house. I turned around, but there was no one. Then, the faces in the mirror began to change. The blurry faces, once indistinct, became clearer. I saw them, those who had participated in the ritual, staring at me with hateful eyes. They didn't speak, but their silence terrified me. It was a true nightmare. Run, or it will be too late. That was the voice of a man, but not an ordinary man. The voice echoed in my mind, full of fear and urgency. I turned around, but saw no one. Yet the feeling did not disappear. It lingered, as if someone were standing behind me. I ran, leaving the house and the mirror behind. But I couldn't escape the images in my mind. Those faces still appeared, haunting me every night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them. These faces, long dead, could not rest in peace. I returned home, but the feeling of being watched never left. It only grew stronger, more intimate. Every time I looked into the mirror, I no longer saw myself. I wasn't sure if I was being haunted, but I could feel a clear change in my mind. The unspoken questions continued to torment me. Why could the mirror connect this world with the next? Why did the red mirror ritual have such terrifying power? And why couldn't those souls find peace? The answer I sought was not a simple explanation. It lay within me, in the things I had witnessed, in what I had gone through. And the deeper I delved into the truth, the more I realized that I couldn't escape this haunting. Once you're involved in the red mirror ritual, there's no turning back. The fire of the strange eyes. Every night, I could not escape the strange dreams. The nightmare had been haunting me since the day I touched that red mirror. It was like a curse, an invisible thread connecting me to the souls in the mirror, to the beings who had participated in the ritual and were trapped between two worlds. The dream always started the same. I stood before the mirror, in darkness, seemingly unable to see myself. But I could feel something watching me from behind, a shadow, vague and shifting in the mirror. Suddenly, those faces appeared again, not just any spirits, but something far worse, more terrifying. They grimaced, snarled, their eyes full of hatred and unspeakable pain. "You can't escape, Andy." The voice echoed in my dream, but this time it was not from within my head. It came from the mirror itself. I couldn't move, couldn't resist. Every time I tried to turn away, the hands of those ghosts reached out, wanting to pull me deeper into the mirror, into their world. I couldn't breathe, but I couldn't escape either. When I woke up, sweat pouring from me, my heart racing, everything in the room seemed the same, but the silence surrounding me made it even more terrifying. The feeling of being watched was increasing. It felt as if someone was right behind me, waiting for me to turn. But when I did, no one was there. Even when I looked into the mirror at home, I noticed something strange. My reflection began to change in small, but clear, ways. A dark shadow always appeared behind me, constantly present in the mirror, even though there was nothing when I turned around. Had those souls really followed me back? Or were they just haunting me? Day by day, I began to lose control. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat properly. Everything seemed to slip away from me, and I didn't even recognize myself anymore. Conversations with friends or family became meaningless. I no longer found joy in life, only fear overwhelmed me. Then, one night, I realized something. It was when I looked into the mirror, and I didn't see myself anymore. The mirror, at that moment, no longer reflected me, it showed something else. Someone else, with eyes completely white, nothing like me. It was a blurry figure, with a cold, chilling smile. "You're no longer yourself, Andy. You belong to us." That voice, this time, wasn't in my dream, but came directly from the mirror. I panicked, quickly turning away, but when I looked back, that image was still there, in the mirror, staring at me with blatant hatred. I couldn't take it anymore. The terrifying truth about the red mirror ritual started to reveal itself. I wasn't just facing the spirits of the dead, but also confronting myself. This ritual wasn't just a cleansing, it was a process that drew the participant into the other world, taking their soul and turning them into part of the eternal ghosts. But what terrified me more was the truth I found in an old book I discovered in the desolate village. The red mirror ritual was not just about opening a door between two worlds, it was a trap, designed to capture the souls of the weak and greedy. I hadn't realized that I had already entered another world the moment I stepped into that village. The souls, the ghosts in the mirror, were no longer just lifeless reflections. They were entities capable of affecting the physical world. And I, Andy, had become a part of that world. On the final night, I decided I wouldn't let myself be destroyed any longer. I had to sever all ties with the mirror and those souls. But when I touched the mirror one last time, I realized it was no longer an object. It was a doorway. A doorway leading straight into the darkness. In that moment, I realized I couldn't escape this ritual. It had possessed me, and I would be trapped in that world forever, with no way out. But what was even more terrifying was that I was no longer alone. The faces in the mirror had now become a part of me. And when you look into the mirror, you may see us. A nightmare with no escape. That night, I had no choice. The mirror had become an inseparable part of me. I couldn't stop looking into it, though every time I did, the terrifying feeling washed over me. I had heard the threats, felt the presence of the souls trapped inside. But what scared me even more was the cold, lifeless stare of those eyes in the mirror, as if they were watching my every move. Every time I looked into the mirror, I didn't recognize myself anymore. I saw another person, a person who had been deformed, with hollow eyes, lips moving soundlessly. Sometimes I wondered if I was still Andy, or just an empty shell, a soul completely taken. The truth that I had begun to change, slowly losing my humanity, was something I could no longer deny. There's only one way to escape, Andy. The voice from the mirror spoke again, now with a challenging tone. If you want to escape, you must sacrifice yourself. You must give us your soul so we can be reborn. Those words echoed in my head, and I couldn't do anything but stand frozen, staring at the mirror. I knew that if I agreed, it would all end, but that was a conclusion I had never desired. I couldn't surrender. But could I escape this haunting without doing so? The question lingered in my mind. Every night, when I closed my eyes, I found myself pulled into another space, a space I could not control. Only the red light from the mirror enveloped everything, along with disturbing images. The ghosts in the mirror didn't stand still anymore. They began to move, coming closer, gliding past red cloths, the candles illuminating the dark forest. I realized that these souls were not ordinary humans. They were entities with dark powers, and the mirror was a doorway for them to invade our world. The cleansing rituals of the red mirror were not about purging the souls, but about a game played by those who wanted to steal souls to increase their strength. And I had become prey in this game. One night, as I sat in deep thought, the mirror suddenly emitted blinding light. I couldn't resist looking into it. When the light faded, I saw myself in the mirror, but it wasn't me. It was a different version of me, with jet black eyes, as if there was a whole dark world within them. "You missed your chance, Andy. You won't escape anymore." The voice from the mirror made me shudder. I tried to turn away, but my body wouldn't move. Everything around me started to spin, the ghosts appeared, surrounding me, and I heard eerie laughter echoing through the space. The cold wind swept through, pulling me into another dimension. This time, I no longer saw the mirror in the room. Instead, I was standing in an ancient tomb, enveloped in a misty fog. Around me were broken piles of bones, rotting arms reaching out from the walls, as if they wanted to pull me in. And then I saw them, the souls from the mirror, all standing there, vague but distinct. "Only when you sacrifice part of your soul can we set you free." One of the ghosts moved closer to me. Their gaze was not one of pleading, but of possession. I felt an unbearable coldness seep into my body. I could no longer breathe. Each breath felt like a battle for survival. "Don't think you can escape us." The voice echoed in my head, suffocating me. "You will pay the price for your curiosity. No one can escape this ritual." Suddenly, I felt myself being dragged away. A wave of darkness engulfed my body, and I couldn't resist. When I looked at my hands, they had become translucent, as if my soul was being drawn away, sucked into another world. All that remained was the coldness and the darkness. "You can't turn back, Andy. We belong together now." I was swept into a dark space, where there was no sound, no light, only the deathly silence. As I tried to breathe, I realized I was breathing something other than air. Each breath was like a knife cutting into my throat, painfully agonizing. But it didn't kill me. It only made me feel myself being pulled deeper into that spiral, never to escape. Then, I realized the terrifying truth. There was no escape. Thank you for listening to tonight's story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to help Grima bring more chilling tales your way. Every like you leave is a candle lit against the dark. We'll see you in the next story. And remember, don't look into the mirror after the lights go out.